Hello and welcome to the Care It Out Sleep Show, a podcast for tired parents who are searching for a bit more sleep the caring way. I'm your host, Kerry Secker, infant sleep consultant, founder of my unique sleep approach, Care It Out, and your caring sleep supporter. I really hope you'll join me on my mission to get snores a settled night's sleep without the tears, training or techniques. I love talking about sleep and I can't wait to share my sleep subjects with you. My approach to getting you more sleep is simple, straightforward, but above all, it's got to make sense and feel best for you. Ready to get more sleep? Then let's get started.
Hello and welcome to the Care It Out Sleep Show. Hope you're all really well and thank you for tuning in. I am very excited for this week's episode and I have a really great guest that I can't wait to introduce you to and talk to you about. We met, I can't remember where we met, but we've been talking on Instagram for a long time, and then we met, I think it was a couple of weeks, well, it feels like a really short time ago. We met up for coffee and we just had so much in common, and I just thought it'd be amazing to have her on the show. So today I am going to be talking to Mel, the Sling lady from Wrap a Hug Sling Library, and we're going to be talking all about sleep and slings. How are you, Mel?
I'm okay, thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
No, I am very excited too. When did we meet? Like that,
Do you know what? It was still a bit sunny, so I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago. So I don't know.
Time is really weird at the moment, isn't it?
I know. Suddenly it's very autumnal, So
yeah, I love autumn. But when we met, I just felt that I could have spoken to you all day about slings, sleep.
Yeah.
I could have spoken to you all day. And I know that I've already asked some of my audience some questions on to send in their questions for that they had on slings and sleep. Well, actually on carrying and slings in general, which we're going to work through. But before we do that, Mel, tell us a little bit about you, what you do, about Wrap a Hug. I love that. I just love the name Wrap a Hug.
Oh, so I am Mel. I have 2 boys, and I'm based in Bethnal Green in East London. Basically, I kind of took over Wrap a Hug after my friend left the country. I transferred it to East London and I made it my own, basically. And what I do is that I offer Sling library sessions, so people can book an appointment and we can help them in whatever way they need, whether they're completely new to baby wearing, they're expecting a baby, or they have a very young baby and they want to just learn about the different options available in terms of slings. So we help them navigate the rather overwhelming world of slings. And so people come, they try slings on, or if they have a specific type of sling they want to try, whether they want to try buckle carriers or woven wraps, we do that. If they want to learn to back carry, if they want to carry a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, babies with medical condition, parents with medical condition, we just find the thing that's going to work for them. So that's how the Sling library works. We have 1 or 2 volunteers who come and help as well. And it's all very nice and lovely. And I also do private consultations, so I can go to people's homes or they can come to mine, so longer consultations. I do workshops, although it's not really running at the moment because of the COVID.
The COVID.
As you can imagine, this is very, very complicated. But I also run a meetup, which is more or less running because of the COVID again. So it's a parent meetup called the Tower Hamlets Family Meet-up, and everybody's welcome regardless of where you live. And basically what we do is we have a bunch of perinatal and early years experts and professionals who come and support the parents for free for a few hours, give them advice, support whatever they need. And we've got a very wide range of people with different expertise. And also the idea is for new parents to meet local parents so they can make friends and we can help combat mother loneliness, which is a very big thing at the moment because everybody's very isolated. So this, we are probably going to run them again from November, but with limited amount of people. But yeah, it's been very complicated with rules and everything. So that's what I do with a close friend of mine. And I do whatever works for people, basically. I've been invited many times. to come to different events where I just bring some slings and I do some demos and I give people information. So yeah, whatever works. I'm here to spread the word about baby wearing and help people navigate slings and find something that works for them, their family, get comfortable. And on the side, I also make baby wearing socks. So that's
so cute.
Yeah, a little business of mine. With my mum, we make baby wearing socks to help keep baby's toes warm when in the slings, but also works for buggies and everything else. So that's what I do. I'm also a breastfeeding mother supporter with the Association of Breastfeeding Mothers, so I can give a little bit of support with that. And I'm just forever learning lots of new things to have a very holistic approach to my practice. And I really love my job. I love the parents I meet. They're so lovely. It's so nice being a part of their parenting journey and helping them. And yes, I love it.
Oh, amazing. Do you know what? And I think that's how we've really connected, is that I love that your job brings you so much joy. Like, yay for the job joy. I think it's so important to enjoy it. And especially when you're working with parents, I think it works both ways. I think it's really important. And I also love that your whole approach is very holistic. It's not about a very prescribed, right, this is the sling for you, you've got to do it this way. It's all about finding something that works for them. And I'm really, really passionate about that as well. It's always there's no black or white thinking here. It's all about finding what works for you. That's always the most important thing. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. There's no one size fits all, literally, for sling. It's not everybody likes the same thing. And one big thing I tell parents is don't go with recommendations from friends, because it might not work for you, or it might work for your partner but not for you. So it's very important to come and try before you buy. Slings Library, we're here for you, we're here to help you, so you don't go to a big baby shop where they're just here to sell you the most expensive thing that's not going to work for you and it's very uncomfortable. So yes, come and see us. We love
I love that. I love that. And I'm always saying one size absolutely sucks, because we're all really different. What works for one might not work for another. I think that's really important. And I also love the sense of community as well, Mel. I know that the COVID has stopped lots of things. It's definitely stopped. But I'm really starting to miss events and meeting parents face to face. And I know I was really rubbish at coming. You've so kindly asked me a couple of times to come to your Wrap a Hug group and talk. And I really want to do that, because I love talking about sleeping, in case that doesn't come across. But I haven't managed that yet, because the COVID, and I just need a little bit of time to organise it. But I would really, really love, it's definitely on my things, my dream list to do once COVID is out of the way.
Please come. We'll have a date soon for our next meetup at Popular Union. So if you can come, that would be amazing.
Amazing to come and hang out. I've just missed connecting with people. It's really tricky. And what we'll do, because I imagine that lots of people listening will be interested in your sock shop and your socks, because I wish you do them for adults, because I definitely am. I love them.
Yeah, it's just I'm not making them for adults. It's just way too complicated. Like making
I can imagine.
Sizes. We just do one size fits, so it lasts a good 3 years, because it spreads out. It's just too much.
Yeah. I love them. But we'll put the link to the sock shop, and so all the links for the sock shop, if you are looking for a consultation with Mel and you want to book that in, I'll put the link, and I'll also put the link in for the upcoming events as well, so people know where to find you as well afterwards.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, I've got loads of questions for you, Mel. Well, actually, you'll be pleased to know, Mel, I've managed to whittle it down from the hundreds I've got to 6 main ones. Yes. I've done my homework. But before we start, I'd really just like to know, actually, just to kind of share, what are the benefits of baby carrying?
I mean, there are hundreds, literally hundreds. The most obvious one is being able to be hands-free. So you can get on with your life and your things, and you can have your baby on you and just do what you need to do. It's also very practical. Obviously, if you go out and about, if you have to go on a tube or something like this, then you don't have to take your buggy. You can take your baby with you. There are loads of benefits in terms of bonding with your baby. So having your baby close to you helps you release, both of you, oxytocin, but also it means that the parent can pick up on the baby's cues for hunger and tiredness very easily, because your baby's right here in front of your eyes. You can't ignore your baby. So it really helps you pick up on this when your baby needs a feed, when your baby needs to change or just move about. It also helps with breastfeeding. So in lots of different ways, having the skin to skin and close contact helps release prolactin, which is the hormone that helps produce milk. And also it's very easy to breastfeed in Slings. I show that to people all the time. So it makes feeding on demand and responsive feeding very, very easy like that. It helps other carers bond with the babies as well. So the dads, the grannies, the nannies, and so on. It really helps them as well. And I find dads sometimes find it difficult to find a place to help the mother, especially if the mother's breastfeeding, feeding at night, and so on. And when dads carry, can give the mom a break, and it can really support the mother, especially in the early stages. It's got lots of other benefits. If you have other children, it's really handy having a sling, so you can be hands-free and deal with your toddlers and older children. And babies want to be carried all the time. It's just a totally normal human need. So carrying your baby will just answer their needs, basically. And we are called clinging young. So it is normal for babies who want to be close to you and held all the time, mainly because for quite a few months they don't realize that they are a separate entity from you. That's what we talk about, the fourth trimester, and that's why they want to be held all the time. So it just enables that and makes your life easier. Some studies suggest that babies who are carried cry less, mainly because the parents are very responsive and all their needs are met and they're being held and they're very happy and content. So it can help with that. It can help with reflux as well. So keeping your baby upright we can ease reflux. And these are some of the benefits. There are so many. I will be here all day.
Loads of benefits. And I'd just like to add, I, for those of you that don't know, was a nanny for 20 years, and I absolutely loved carrying the babies. I was probably the only nanny 15, 20 years ago doing that. And I got some very strange looks, like, why are you doing that? You're spoiling them. You just need to put them down, show him his boss. But for me, it just made total sense. And I absolutely loved it, especially if the babies had older siblings. I really, really, really enjoyed it. And I really miss it. I miss babies. And then the other thing is that expectation. There's so much expectation to get your baby as soon as they're born independent, put them down, don't spoil them, don't cuddle them up. They've got to learn to be independent. But one thing that I love the fourth trimester, and one thing I'm always saying here is babies are dependent, and that independence comes from fostering that connection, not the other way around. So we've got this expectation, we've got to teach to put our babies down, and that it's okay, and that if there's something wrong with them if they cry when you put them down. But this is all completely normal baby behavior, especially at any age, but especially in the 4 months, not the 4 month regression, the fourth trimester. Always get those two muddled up. The fourth trimester, not the fourth. But actually, saying that, the sling can be a savior in the 4 month regression as well. Like, Sling has got so many benefits for sleep, naps on the go. It helps connection. Sleep for me is all about being calm and connected, so it can help with that. So I completely agree with you. So many benefits to it as well. A couple of questions I did have is, can you carry from newborn, and is there an age up to when that you can't carry them anymore? Does that make sense?
So yes and no. So yes, you can carry them from newborn. As soon as they come out, you can put them in a sling immediately. There's no reason why not to, as long as the parent feel fine, especially if you're the mother. You just need to make sure that you feel okay. But you can carry straight from birth, even if you have had a C-section. I get that asked a lot. Yes, you can carry your baby straight after C-section. We might need to make some adjustments to make sure there's no pressure around the pelvic floor area. And it's easy actually to carry in a sling than in arms after you had a C-section, because you do a lot less lifting like this. So yes, you can carry them straight away. You can even carry premature babies as long as the sling is suitable and within the lower weight limit. And if you can't carry and your baby's extremely tiny and we can't find a thing that will work, there are lots of other options to offer skin to skin in hospital and then at home. And then upper weight limit, well, there's no time really you should stop, but it depends on the upper weight limit of your sling. So there are plenty of carriers that go up to 15 kilos. Some go up to like 22 kilos if they're taller carriers. And then you have preschool carriers that can go up, I can't remember, like 30 kilos or something like this. With woven wrap, for instance, you don't really have an upper weight limit. You can carry an adult in it and it's fine. It's basically up to you to decide when you stop carrying your child. There's no reason to stop unless your thing is not supportive anymore, and it can rip, obviously. That's the biggest thing. But I still carry my 6.5-year-old in a woven wrap sometime, and it's totally fine. It's still supportive, and I can do it. I carry my 3-year-old every day, and it's fine. I can physically do it, and the slings are supportive for that. So it's up to you. Don't listen to what people say that your child is never going to walk if you keep carrying them for so long. I hear that all the time, which is such a stupid thing to say. Because if you put your child in a buggy, your baby is also going to walk. So it makes no difference. Children are never too old or too big to be carried. So yes, it is you who decide.
Yeah, I really like that. And I think I carried some of the kids I looked at like 2 to 3. The time I only stopped when I'm quite a short person, when I literally couldn't do it anymore. And I think they wanted to get down and walk with their older siblings or with their friends. But I was happy to do it for a long time.
Yeah, and then also think about it, like you see lots of parents giving the kids piggyback ride or shoulder ride. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's frowning, so why not use a sling? It's just a lot easier.
That's very very true, isn't it?
It's so much easier. I've had so many comments in the past when I was carrying my children while older. Oh, isn't it too old to be carried? Like, no, absolutely not. But if my husband's carrying them on his shoulders, nobody's going to make any comments. It's actually quite cute, So why not use a sling? You'll save your back and you can carry for longer, and it's just a lot more comfortable and convenient. So
that is so true. Would you have strangers passing opinion and comment?
All the time. I think as mothers, we are judged all the time by other parents or older people. It happens all the time. But I just know what you're saying. and same goes with breastfeeding and everything else. Children and babies are public properties, and you get a lot of unwanted advice or comment. You just have to know how to reply, I think, and just stick to your guts. You're the parent. You are the expert in your child. You know your child better than anybody else. And nobody should be here to tell you what to do, ever.
Yeah, you can't see me, but I'm literally air punching to every single one of those. But I think it's so hard. I think it's so hard when you're publicly called out. It must be so hard not to take, parenting is personal. It's hard not to take it personally when someone passes comment. Any comebacks that you want to share, I bet people would be really interested in hearing those.
I think I try not to get upset or angry because I'm not this type of person, but I just gently educate people when I get commented in the street or online on social media. It's just about making them realizing that they're telling me that as a mother, and they wouldn't say that as to a father, for instance, because people think it's just so cute that dads are carrying children or on shoulder ride. So I just try to turn things around. I think that's my approach, really, saying, would you say that if and such in this situation? And then just questioning people. Why do you say that? Why do you think that? What's the outcome? What's going to happen? And because I think people say a lot of things without even realizing, because these things must have been said to them when they had their own children, or by family members. It's just really ingrained in society that we shouldn't be doing such and such, when really there's just no reason to. And many years ago, we had no buggies. We used to carry our babies all the time. We used to breastfeed them until they were 7, and that was totally normal. And they still do so in many cultures around the world. So what is it in our culture that we are being judged all the time as parents as to what it is nobody's business? You and your children's and your partner's business, and that's it. Not even grandparents or sisters or whatever should be involved. So
I agree. Your baby, your business.
Exactly.
Cool. I totally agree. And I know we were talking about this, Mel, before we hit record, but how long can your baby or child be in the sling for? Is there a limit to them being in a sling?
So for carrying, age limit, there's no age limit, as I just explained, but so there's no really limit how long a baby can be in a sling. Your baby can be in a sling all day. It's totally fine. Obviously, take your baby out to feed, to change, to have time on their backs. But there's no really time limits. You can carry your baby for as long as you want. Sometimes they might have very long naps, and it's fine for them to sleep in a sling for as long as they need. Do let them come out from time to time to have a good stretch and just change position, because it's good for them to do that anyway. Same as if they were in a buggy for a long time, then you want to take them out, put them on the play mat, do some tummy time, whatever you're doing, depending on the stage of development. There is a recommendation when it comes to carrying your baby facing out or facing the world. We recommend you carry that way 20 to 30 minutes, but again, it's a recommendation. It's up to you. What you do as a parent is your choice. The reason we recommend that is that it's not the most ergonomic way of carrying, and also you really can feel the weight in your shoulders after a while. So it's also for you to save your back, because the whole weight is shifted forward, so your center of gravity is changed as well. So it's more for you, so you don't have back problem, but also it's more comfortable for baby to sit facing you. But it's fine. You can just do it. The one thing also with facing out is don't let your baby fall asleep facing out, because there's a risk of suffocation. So you need to really monitor your baby when you're carrying your baby facing the world. But there is nothing wrong with carrying your baby facing out. Many people criticize it, but it's totally fine to do.
Okay.
So, yes.
So if they fall asleep facing out, you would take them back out and face them the other way.
Yeah. So you can just gently loosen your carrier and then just very slowly lift them and turn them around facing you. Just take your time, do it slowly, rock them at the same time so they don't wake up, and then put them back facing you, and then just reset your carrier for facing you. But yes, because otherwise what can happen is that the head can be pressed into the front panel or the headrest, and that can create a risk of suffocation. So we need to
make total sense. Total sense. And is there an age limit for that? Would you do the same for a toddler, for example?
So for facing out, so first of all, you won't find a toddler carrier that offers facing out, because usually by the time they're 12, 13, 14 months, depending on the size of your baby, they just become way too heavy to be carried. For yourself, it's just very hard to support the weight that way. So if you keep going, you can keep going with your carrier as long as you're within the upper weight limit. It's up to you what you do, but you'll find there's a point you just can't do it anymore because they're just way too heavy. So then you can carry them facing you or on your back, or you can do hip carries as well, which will give them a lot of visibility.
Yeah. So I've never carried them face out. They were either on my back or we were chest to chest.
Yeah. Lots of people don't. And
I found it really uncomfortable on my shoulders,
yeah,
and they'd kick me.
yeah.
Like right in the groin. I think
Yeah.
I'm just got a really short torso.
Yeah. Depending on your size and also the style of carrier that you have. So if you have a narrow base carrier where the legs are kind of quite straight, then if they kick, that can hurt. If you have a wide base carrier where they're seated in like a deep seated position, like frog legs facing out,
Yeah.
then they shouldn't be able to kick too much.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes total
but
sense.
yeah, it's up to you, the parents.
Yeah,
Totally.
and I guess we're all different shapes and sizes as
Yeah.
well. Like that must have an impact on it.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with carriers, it's not one size fits all. There are so many different brands and types out there, mainly because really not one size fits all. So like people always want to try the most well-known brands, but they find that often it doesn't suit their body shape. So then they'll go for something that is a bit less well-known, that is more fitted, that has more adjustment to fit their body. Also, not everybody's got the same mobility. So some people can't reach clips on the back and stuff like that. So we need to find them something that's going to work for them, that is very easy to work with. Because everybody should be able to use a sling or carrier by themselves. You shouldn't need somebody to help you.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important to try before you buy, especially with buckle carriers, and see what works for you.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's all about whether it's working for you. This is actually quite a popular one. Any tips if you've got a sore back?
So if you have a sore back, my tip is go to your nearest Sling library because they'll be able to help you. So if you are near me, I'm in East London, in Bethnal Green and Dalston, you can come see me. Or if you're somewhere else in the country, you can go to the Sling Pages website and then you will find your nearest Sling library from there. The best thing you can do is go get expert help, and then we can discuss what kind of back problems do you have. Is it something, if you're a mother, is it something that happened during pregnancy? Is it something that's still happening? Is it something that is caused by the sling, which can happen in a few cases depending on how the sling is fitted and what the type of it is like. So, and then just discussing like how the baby is carried, the weight of the baby, and so on. And then we can look at what your sling is like, how it is fitted, how you're using it. Because what I find is a lot of people have back problem is simply because they don't tighten the sling enough. And absolutely 90% of the time, people are saying they're having back problem and then the sling is just not tight enough. So slings have got to be tight for that reason, but also for safety. If it's not tight enough, your baby's head is not well supported and you have a risk of suffocation. So it's very important to make it nice and tight. It's sometimes difficult to know how tight it is. So with carriers, what you can do is hold your baby's head, lean forward. If your baby's body is coming away from yours, then it's definitely not tight enough. So retighten. I think in doubt is retighten a bit more always. With wraps, it's a bit more tricky. So it's best to go see somebody. But if you find it's pulling and it's hurting, then it's just not tight enough. And some people have like back conditions, so then we can explore different options. So maybe looking at a carrier that has lower back support, or can we add lumbar support to the carrier? Can we look at things that don't have buckles on it, so like either a half buckle carrier so the straps are fitting to your body better, or looking more like wrap style stuff like med-eyes or woven wrap or stretchy wraps if your baby's quite small. And looking at two shoulder carry instead of one shoulder carry, because some slings you carry on just one shoulder, like ring slings. So it's worth exploring other options and see if the problem perpetuates, then maybe seek some medical advice. But yeah, there's lots of things to do. For a lot of people that I've seen with back problem, we always ended up finding a solution for them. Sometimes it means trying lots of slings on and keeping an open mind. But eventually we get there. And sometimes it's about looking at where your baby is carried. So facing out is not all really going to help if you have some back problems. So then we can discuss about back carrying or carrying only facing you. But there's lots and lots of things to do. There's always something.
Yeah.
which is what's great about it.
Yeah, I love that. And it comes back to finding something that's one size sucks and finding something that works for you.
Exactly. It's about what works for you, and that is the most important message, I think. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you there. And then any tips for, is it possible to carry twins? And do you have any tips for it?
Yes, it is very possible. So if you head over to my YouTube channel, just do a search on YouTube for Wrap a Hug, and I make all sorts of guides and tutorials and sling comparison and things, so you can go there and then check out the video I've made. Yeah, I see a lot of twin parents. I'm actually near a hospital that offers IVF, so I ended up quite a lot of twins and multiples. And there's lots and lots and lots of options for twin carrying. I think with twins, it's about keeping an open mind and maybe starting with something and then moving on to something else later on. So when they're very little, we prefer carrying them both on the front or more towards the hip. As they get bigger, around 6 months, they've got better head control, then you can look into carrying one on the front, one on the back. And to do that, you can combine a million different slings. So it depends what you want, really. I'll work with the parent and see what works for them, seeing what the weight of both twins is at one point, and then just moving on. You can get twin slings. Personally, I don't have them in my library because I find you can always find lots of solutions with using 2 slings or 2 babies in one wrap, for instance. So you can absolutely carry them together. Some people prefer having one in a buggy and then one in a sling and then just swapping over. It's absolutely possible. You can carry triplets if you want to as well. So.
Yeah. Amazing. I've only ever worked with one triplet family.
Wow.
Very, very cute. Very, very cute. That was really, really useful. Thank you. And then I've just got a few quick fire questions about sleep and sleeping in the sling, because as predicted, I wasn't very surprised about this, but a lot of the questions were around sleeping in the sling. So does napping in a sling affect nighttime sleep?
Not at all. It's totally natural for a baby to want to sleep on you. So having contact naps, it's just totally normal. They want to feel safe and secure. They want to feel warm. Your chest is the best place for them to sleep, and they absolutely love that, and it's completely normal for them to want to do that. So my advice is just don't fight it. Just let your baby sleep in a sling on you. It will just comfort them, and that's what they need. They just need a lot of comfort. They don't need to be trained to be sleeping somewhere in particular. It's not going to affect sleep time at all. It really just makes no difference. What you can do is just not let them sleep in the sling in a dark room. So just keep walking around, be at home, but just don't close the curtains because that can affect the sleep pressure. So you want the sleep pressure to keep building during the day. And Carrie, I'm sure you can explain all of that much better than I can. But it won't affect that at all. So you just do what your baby needs, and it just makes your life so much easier. The more you fight, the harder you're making your life. The one thing about sleeping in sling is that you have to remember that if you need to nap whilst the baby's napping, you must take your baby out of your sling, because one of the safety thing is, we say in view at all times, means you need to always monitor your baby. So you can't close your eyes and sleep and monitor your baby at the same time. So you must take your baby out of the sling and put them down on a safe sleeping surface.
Yeah, makes total sense. And I just want to add my tuppence worth in there. This comes up such a lot. I think there's so much pressure to get your baby to sleep in a cot for it to count for a nap. And to answer this question is that I honestly don't believe that where they sleep during the day, whether that's in a nap with you, on a nap mat, whether you co-sleep for a nap. I'm not saying it's completely impossible, because I've learned working with parents that nothing is impossible, but it's so very unlikely that it's going to impact the nighttime sleep. I've never seen it in practice. And yes, naps and nighttime sleep are linked. How they nap during the day and how they sleep at nighttime can lead back to one another. But where they actually sleep, so napping in a sling doesn't impact the nighttime sleep. They're two completely separate things. I've worked with hundreds of babies, probably not more than that now, that nap in a sling and then go to bed, either bed sharing in a completely different space at night time. They settle lovely at bedtime, and they sleep very well at night time. The best way to put it is I've never ever honestly come back and looked at where a baby's napping during the day to improve the bedtime routine, putting them down to sleep, or their sleep at night time. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot of false belief. I do have a few clients who said to me that they training their babies to nap in the cot during the day, and they refuse for the baby to sleep in the sling. I don't know where they get this idea from. Again, it's just another societal pressure and false belief. It makes no difference. Your baby's happier sleeping on you, trust me.
Yeah.
And also, it just makes your life easier, because if you can't go anywhere because your baby needs to nap at certain times in their cot, it's going to really affect your life, your day-to-day things to do, and also your mental health. Not being able to go meet friends or family or go to a class or this because your baby needs to be home to nap in their cot at such a particular time, it just makes it impossible. I've never put my kids down to nap in the bed. They always slept on me, and I just get on with my life. It makes life very difficult.
Yeah, and I guess that comes back to it doing something that works for you. Like, I'm a massive fan. If it's working for you, all is well. Crack on, do what's working for you. Take off that pressure. Don't let it become a battle. But for some families, if you do want to get them into the cot, I think it's always okay to do. You can do that. You can make changes and do it in a very gentle way. It's absolutely okay to do that. But I think it's really important that there are so many myths, such as, does sleeping in a sling affect nighttime sleep? It really doesn't. And actually it leads on to this second question, is that is a sling nap as good and restorative as a nap in bed? I'd love to hear your take on this, Mel, because again, this is another massive myth.
Yeah, I think it's exactly, if not the same, better, because I personally, in my own experience, and not as a professional, because I am not a sleep consultant, so I have done a bit of training, but I don't know enough. My babies are happy when they wake up from a nap when they've been sleeping on me than when they wake up alone in a cot. They'll just scream because they don't know where they are and where I am and so on. And they're just quite happy. They wake up, they boob a bit, and then they're happy to get on with whatever else we're doing for the rest of the day. They will sleep the same amount of time in a sling than in a cot, maybe more actually, because if I see sometimes they start waking up, I'll just keep walking and rocking and just helping them go back to sleep if I find they only slept for maybe 20 minutes. I think personally it's just totally up to the parents what they want to do, but I don't think there's much of a difference. It might just be better to sleep in a sling, but again, I don't know. I like to base my claim on scientific evidence, and I don't have scientific evidence.
I like that. And yeah, I completely agree. This comes up so much, and it comes back to that naps have to be in a cot to count. They really don't. And I think this is what I would say about this. I believe you are an expert. You're an expert in so many different things, and you're always the expert, as all of the parents, they're always the expert of their baby. There's this expectation or this myth that if it's not in a cot to count, they don't go into deep restorative sleep. But naps during the day, they're not. It comes on to what you're talking about, that peak pressure during the day.
Yeah.
Well, it leads on from that. During the day, even older babies, the the amount of melatonin, sleep hormone, that they produce during the day, it's almost undetectable. So we nap during the day when we've built up enough peak pressure to get ourselves to sleep. So naps during the day are completely different to nighttime sleep. There's hardly any melatonin, literally undetectable. It's always a lighter type of sleep. They don't go into that deeper sleep because of the lack of because of the melatonin, where the melatonin is at. And for me, I just don't buy into this theory of junk sleep. Maybe at nighttime, like it's the same thing for us if we slept on a train or a boat or a plane over nighttime, you definitely don't feel as refreshed. But I think that's completely different. Like nighttime and nap time sleep is completely different. So yeah, I completely believe that a sling nap is as good and restorative as a nap in a cot, if not more so, because you're able to resettle them, your clothes, they're more likely to do a little bit longer. But again, I guess it is what works for one might not work for another.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then that leads on to, my baby will only nap in a sling for naps. Is this a problem? My answer to this is things are only, I would always come back and ask that question back to the parents. Is it a problem for you? Because if your baby is happy napping in the sling, you're happy with your baby napping in the sling, then being honest, it just isn't a problem unless it's one for you.
No, it's definitely not a problem at all. Yeah, exactly. If you find that it's stressful, an issue, then maybe think about what you want to do. But it's totally normal. Again, like, it's important to remember that this is normal infant behavior, that babies want to contact nap because this is where they feel safe, warm, and evolutionarily that's what we used to do. That's why we survived. Basically, it's totally normal and it's fine. And I think some people think it's a problem because others have been telling them that it's a problem. But in reality, it just isn't. And it's very important not to compare yourself to other parents. It is their choice. And also, your parents were your parents. They did what they did with you, but they're not the parents of your baby. It's very important to remember that. If your baby's happy, why fight it? It will just make life happier. Happy baby makes happy parents. And I think slings are a very big tool in enabling this.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is really important to not to compare ourselves, but it's so hard when you are being called out or someone's giving you unsolicited advice, parenting advice, or they're making an opinion on your parenting. I think it's so hard not to compare, but I think it is really important I'm always reminding myself, parents, that to try not to compare, because we all do think, it comes back to what's working for that parent might not work for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've seen a lot of families and they find that their mother are telling them, but this is what I did with you. And I just remind them that things that were done with us in, I don't know how old people are, but for me it was in the 80s, and my mum would just like cry us to sleep all the time and abandon us, and there was no slings, there was no breastfeeding. It was a completely different time, and things have moved on. There's been a lot more research that shows that this and this is normal. We're talking more about attachment parenting and gentle parenting, and things we did in the past are not necessarily good, you know?
Yeah.
We tell women that it was good for them to smoke. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that is very true. When we know better, we can do better, I think, sometimes.
Exactly. I think what's always important with everything, it's to inform yourself, because informed is best. And that's when it comes to feeding your baby and everything else, is just to educate yourself and inform yourself. And if you can, look at the research, and just always take advice with a pinch of salt, and remember that you are the expert on in your baby. This is you're in charge, and you know better than anybody else.
Yeah, brilliant advice. Last couple of questions, hopefully they'll be quick ones, is can you feed to sleep in a sling?
Yes, absolutely you can. So you can breastfeed and bottle feed, tube feed, cup feed, whatever, how you want to feed in the sling. And if your baby falls asleep, that is totally normal. We find breastfed babies fall asleep at the sling a lot, because breast milk's got soporific effects, and that's totally normal. What you need to do is always retighten your sling once your baby's finished drinking. If you can burp them, but not all babies will burp once they've fallen asleep. And always retighten. So don't leave it loose, or always put your baby back upright if you're feeding in a cradle or cross cradle position. Always bring back your baby upright. It's very, very important. And yes, it's totally fine for them to fall asleep at the breast or on the bottle. It's totally fine.
Amazing. It's just important that if they fall asleep facing out, to turn them back around again.
Yes, that's the other thing as well. Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. And then actually we'll do this one first of all. Like, is facing out too distracting for a baby to sleep?
So what I would recommend in general is do the facing out when your baby is alert, your baby isn't overtired, and it's fine for them to be facing out because they're happy to look around. If you want your baby to fall asleep, I will say definitely don't put them facing out, because if they do fall asleep, eventually you will have to turn them around and you have more of a risk of waking them up. So if your baby's tired and it's time to nap, just put them on the front. What you can also do is just put them on a hip if your carrier allows that, and then bring them back to the front when they're asleep. But it's also a bit of a myth that babies carried facing out are overstimulated. Babies are naturally curious from a few months old, and they want to see the world, and it's totally fine to do that in facing out or in a hip carrier. A back carrier as well offers a lot of visibility. It's not, I don't think it overstimulates them, but what can happen is that some babies can become a bit overwhelmed. So if they can't see the parent, they can become a bit distressed, and then they might cry. And if your baby becomes distressed or cry, you should immediately turn them back facing you. If they see something that upsets them, or they're just a bit scared or feel insecure, they will want to see you. So doing a hip carry will allow them to see you and see the world at the same time. So sometimes it's a really good option to do hip carries. But the other thing about facing out is that some babies get totally addicted to it.
I love that.
Oh my God, the world is amazing. And some babies won't be carried facing the parent anymore. They will just scream and scream. So it's just something to bear in mind before you offer the facing out option. Or you could try to do it, but just short amount of time, and then turn them around. So it's just something to remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. I think that's great and very sensible advice there. Mm-hmm. And they're all really, I just think it just comes back to every baby is completely different, and some babies are playing and looking around is always going to be their priority, where some are happy just to kind of, right, I'm tired, I'm going to nod off now. I think they're all different. And again, it's about finding what works for you and your baby.
Yes, exactly. I mean, from my personal experience of carrying my children, I've never faced them out because I never really saw the need for it. So I would do hip carries, and also I used mainly pretty much always woven wrap. So you can't really offer a facing out option, but I would just hip carry them, and they will see the world and they will see me at the same time. And it's just easier to communicate as well, I think, when you can see them, because they can pick up on paralinguistic cues, which is basically how you're acting, how your different gestures and eye contact and all that really helps them to communicate. And you can see how they react to certain things and situation and things they see. So it's easier to see them like this. But again, it's totally up to you.
Yeah, I love that. Parents are always the experts. And this is the last question, I promise. Can baby wearing relax or help a toddler to sleep?
Yes, absolutely. There's no time when baby wearing is not beneficial anymore. We call it toddler wearing, so preschool wearing. Preschooler wearing. You can carry your baby for as long as you want, and if they need to nap, they find it relaxing, then they can do so. I see that with many families. They find that their toddlers will only nap on them, and that's fine, and they're totally happy with that. So they just need to find a sling for the weight of their toddler. I find my toddler just likes to contact nap still at 3 years old. He really wants to do that. So when he's tired, he just asks for to be put in a wrap. And if he needs to boob, he will boob. And he falls asleep. And depending on what I'm doing, I might just put him back down on the bed because at 3 years old is quite heavy, and if I want to do something, it's a bit tricky doing anything with him on the front. Or I would just put him straight on my back, so it's easier for me to do things. But if we're out and about, you can just sleep there, and it's totally fine. And he does pretty much all the time. He goes into the wrap and he falls asleep. So. And if I find that he's very cranky, but he's refusing to lie down with me on the sofa or on the bed, then I put him in a wrap and that calms him down. What happens with wraps and slings is because they're nice and tight, it puts pressure on certain area and sends them signals to sleep as well, which is quite handy. So it can be with that as well. So
yeah. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I liked it when I was a nanny and the toddler would go to sleep, and I felt, I don't know, for me it was a little bit of a break. I felt like I could go and walk out, get myself a nice coffee, do a bit of window browsing, and I didn't have to worry about listening out for them because they're going to wake up, or worry how long they were going to get. They would literally right there on my back.
Yeah, exactly. You can just do so many things. I mean, I've hiked up mountains with kids on my back in a wrap. I've done so many things with babies in wraps. It's just, you can do pretty much everything as long as it's safe, obviously.
Yeah.
Don't go drilling a wall with a baby in a sling. It's just common sense. Don't cycle or scoot or whatever with your baby in the sling, all right? Don't do anything that you wouldn't do if your baby was in arms, basically. Common sense is really good as well.
Yeah, I like that. Don't do anything you wouldn't do with your baby in arms. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And do you know what? The parting piece here is that, and I've totally done this, you can even go to the toilet with your baby in a sling.
Yes. Exactly. I've had people who were just a bit freaked out by that, but I mean, yeah, you can absolutely. If you're using a wrap on, make sure the tails don't go in the toilet because it's a bit annoying. But you can absolutely do that. Yes,
this is a game changer. Like literally game changer.
You can do so many things.
So many different things, even going to the toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, Mel, it's been so lovely talking to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to record this today, but also to share your expertise, your job joy with us, and answer the questions. Amazing. I've definitely learned so much from listening to you, and you never stop learning. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing something, there's always something new to learn. And I really hope that to see you very soon once the COVID has done one and we can get back to doing events. But if people wanted to find out how to book a consultation, they want to book, they want to buy some socks off of you, they want to find your YouTube, shall I just put all the links for you in the show notes? Or did you have anything else you wanted to share, Mel?
No, that's fine. I mean, they can contact me whatever way. Or if you go on my website, you'll find all my contact details. You can contact me via email. You can send me a text. Try to text, not call, because I just don't hear really well on the phone. You can send me a message on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever is going to work for you. I will always answer you. Whatever question people are. If you can't book and you just have some questions, please do ask them. I'm always here and happy to answer them. But yes, get in touch, whatever you need. I'm always happy to answer.
Amazing. Mel, thank you so much for joining us. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Love.
Thank you so much for listening to me, your host, Kerry Secker, on the Carrot Out Sleep Show. I really hope you found the podcast reassuring, informative, and a little bit fun. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe to the show below, and I'd be so grateful if you could leave me some fabulous feedback. I always love hearing from you, and one lucky listener will win lifetime access to my Bedtime Basics e-course every single month. My next podcast episode will be out in 2 weeks' time. But if you can't wait for more of my sleep shizzle, you can find me over on Instagram at Carrot Out Sleep Consultant. I update my sleep squares and speak sleep there on the daily. Big love and sleep solidarity to you all.